Greetings, brothers and sisters. Prince William defends royals, very much not a racist family. And this is in result of the interview with Meghan Markle's and Harry and Oprah Winfrey. And so the problem with him saying that is the very basis of the royal family is racist. It's beyond racist. I don't know what to call it, because it's not just about, race. It's about a certain group of people, the royals, right, claiming to have royal blood, people who are saying their genetics are superior to other people's genetics. I mean, that's the basis of a monarchy. It is where you're born into a line, a successive line of what are considered rulers, a ruling class, based in your genetics and your genetics alone. The dangers of royal inbreeding. From the Spanish Habsburgs and Queen Victoria's grandchildren, how centuries of inbreeding and genetic mutation led Europe's royal family to ruin. They have all these various people who are considered royal in one way or another. They're considered part of the ruling class. There's dukes and whatever else there is, right? And in various countries. There's kings and queens in various countries in Europe. And those people are all considered to have royal blood. And they have to marry within that group, right? Which is completely effed up because it's a small genetic pool. I've talked about this so much recently. And this is a big deal for them. This is everything. Their genealogy, their various, the House of Windsor family tree, and you have these, these bloodlines of royal people, and it isn't based in merit, especially at this point. At some point, some dude became the first king, right? I don't know who that was, don't really care, based in his ability to have a quality army in one way or another. It was based in brute force. Kings were robber baron kings. They were thugs, like, some sort of gangland thugs that would rule over a area with the might of their arms. And then they became these so-called sophisticated people, right? These people with all these, various rituals and pomp and circumstance. They would get etiquette training and all these things, but it was based in being robber baron kings, thugs. From that, they decided they had royal blood. It was passed on from generation to generation. So if these guys claim, Harry and Meghan's claim is false about what they said about this guy, Archie, the conversation, it doesn't matter. It's made up, whatever it is. The fundamental principles behind the royal family is racist or beyond that, where they think that they're better, right? That they're in a ruling class based in their genes, based in royal blood. I mean, it's a term, right? Royal blood is a term. Royal family tree and line of succession. And so these are, this is Queen Elizabeth, and there's Prince Charles and his son Prince William. And that dude, I don't know who he's Prince William's son, I don't know what his name is. But it's because of blood, and that's just messed up. Like, you can't, it's, in its very nature, it's racist. A royal descent is a genealogical line of descent from a past or present monarchy. Both geneticists and genealogists have attempted to estimate the percentage of living people with royal descent. From a genetic perspective, the number of unprovable descendants must be virtually unlimited if you're going back enough generations. And here is the succession. Hereditary monarchies, which is what the British monarchy is. In a hereditary monarchy, the position of monarch is inherited according to a statutory or customary order of succession, usually within one royal family, tracing its origin through a historical dynasty or bloodline. This usually means that their heir to the throne is known well in advance of becoming a monarch to ensure smooth succession. This is all about genealogy and bloodlines and blood and genetics, right? So this goes far beyond someone with power and influence having a conversation with Harry about the color or the darkness of his baby's skin. the whole premise of the royal family is wrong. You understand this? You can have good genetics. Good genetics is important. Some people have like intelligence in their genetics or athletic ability or music ability, or you see this with people having a genetic line of talent that is expressed over a series of generations. But being a ruler, being a ruler isn't something you're bred to or born to. It isn't something that, there's these people who are genetically superior in some way, and they're on a different level. And that's how this is what the royal family is. They're on a completely different level than their subjects and other people in the world. And there's all this stuff, when they go places, the parades and the rituals they have, and wearing a crown and sitting on a throne. Like, this stuff is all about being better, and not being better because you earned something or you became something, because you were born into something, that you have a superior level of, evolution in some way, and you're part of the ruling class. And that is a fundamentally flawed principle, and the way it's been borne out. And we're talking about, the royal family having 6.6 billion acres of land and trillions of dollars of resources, and a stranglehold over so many of these countries, a British Commonwealth with 52 countries, I believe, still in there. And they have a powerful stranglehold based in a genetic line, that someone's going to inherit that power. And then there's the handlers and the people that are keeping the monarch going, on the simple principle that you're born into it, that you're born into being a ruler. Now, I've talked about how I don't think democracy is a good system. Obviously, you can see that playing out. I mean, when Joe Biden, any system is corruptible. But for me, the way I look at it, it's the quality of one's soul, and it's the work that somebody does to become a better person, internal work, to become somebody who has the appropriate internal condition to be a good leader, or be somebody who, has this position. And there just has to be a naturalness and a flow to it. Because I don't have, like, say, for example, I wouldn't be good as a leader. Like, I don't have that type of personality. There are people who will say, Paul for president, or Pockets for president, or something like that. And I always say, no, I'd make a horrible president. Not because I'm being humble. Like, I just don't have that type of personality. I don't desire that type of position, and I wouldn't be good at it. I'm not really good in a supervisory type of situation. I'm more of a person that sort of, sits in the back of the classroom and makes jokes about the leadership, right? That's what I'm doing here, right? And that's why I have a lightness about it, because, I always say that if you're not capable of doing a better job yourself, then you have to be at least a little grateful that somebody is a leader, even if they're a bad leader. There's just so much venom and anger that you can have towards that leader if you couldn't do a better job yourself. Like, if you can do a better job, then fine. And not just because you think you can do a better job. Lots of people think they can do a better job, but they can't. And so, being a leader, being somebody who is in charge of a country, or even on a local level, is a responsibility. And people, you can either take it as a responsibility or take it as a way to cut themselves a really good deal by using their power, abusing their power for personal gain. And that is, each person's choice, whether you're a leader of a company and you're given the influence and power of having $1 billion of corporate influence and whatever it is. But it's all about your internal world. I mean, this is what the heartfulness meditation is to help each person bring out the best version of themselves in their whatever particular role that they're supposed to play, based in destiny, based in their talents and gifts, right? There's some skaras. Everyone's going to have to play some sort of a role. And so you're going to be given a position of power, but these positions, like the royal family is the worst one, but even in terms of American politics, there's a system of handlers, right? What they call the firm in the royal family, the system of royalty. And these people aren't, necessarily a part of the royal family. Some of them are. And they are going to shape whoever is the next king and mold them into adhering to the status quo. And that's the problem. These paradigms have to go. Same thing in Washington, D.C. And this is why they got rid of Trump and they treated Trump the way he did. He got trumped because he was not following the mold. He was tweeting. He wasn't acting presidential. He was making his own decisions. He wasn't listening to the status quo in some. I mean, he had handlers and things like this, but he was not doing what they wanted him to do. And so they trumped him, right? And that's, you can see that happen. That happens to kings. I mean, this happens to various members of the royal family when they don't follow the orders of their handlers. They get ousted and they put in another one. And so this is the problem with all the powerful structures in religion as well. All these, corporate structure, people aren't able to be good people and do things that are fair and equitable and what's best because the power structure turns them into something else. And this, the royal bloodlines is like probably the biggest indication of something like this. And so becoming being given a position based on what you have on the inside, what kind of person you've become on the inside, and wanting good people as a leader instead of wanting corrupt people. Because there's corrupt people in the background that want corrupt leaders that they can corrupt. America's done this, installing puppet leaders that are corrupt in all these various countries, the bankers, the Federal Reserve type banks, right, that are in every country around the world wanting corrupt and evil leadership. And that's, that's what's happened. You can see it. This is our world. This is what happens when you become a truther and you start to see this is a system with a power structure that doesn't allow for higher developed souls, saints, and higher developed beings to do good work and help elevate the consciousness of humanity and rise to a higher level. It's just all this corruption and selfishness and lower level stuff. In the heartfulness meditation, there's been 4 masters of the system, and the master, the successor, is chosen as the best person to fulfill that responsibility, to be the representative of the former master of the system, based in their spiritual evolution and commitment. And they take some time training. The former master of the system takes time training their successor, but more importantly, they infuse within them, they pass on the spiritual essence. There's a great story, and it was documented in the diaries of Master Charji, Parthasarthi Rajagopalachari, who was Babaji's successor, and they were traveling in Europe, and Babaji was having health issues and things, and they were in an airport in Denmark, and Babaji said, I want to give you a sitting. In the heartfulness system, a sitting is where a preceptor or the master of the system sits across from a person or a group of people and transmits to them and cleans their heart and transmits this divine energy. The utilization of the divine energy for the transformation of man is how it's defined, pranahuti. It's, God's love. And Babaji transmitted to Master Charji for like a minute and a half, like a very short period of time. The sittings usually last a half hour to an hour. And Master Charji said it was an incredible experience. And he said, what was that? And Babaji said, I just transmitted my condition, my spiritual evolution, my spiritual essence to you, right? And now you're going to be my successor. He passed on his spiritual condition to his successor. And so this energy is passed on from heart to heart in the line of succession. So it's kind of, a beautiful thing if you think about it. And they all have children. All the masters of the system have children, and some of the children didn't deal very well with not being chosen. But it's something that it couldn't be that way, right? It couldn't, even if they were quality, higher developed soul, some of the children were higher developed people of the masters. But it was something where it couldn't be passed on based in blood or bloodlines, because that would be a disaster, right? They had to be able to choose different people who are, had different personalities, because all 4 of the masters have different personalities, and they have their own, perspectives and things like this. But this, higher level consciousness, this spiritual evolution, is the same. Their internal condition and their spiritual accomplishment is the same, right? They all reach this certain level, but the way that they're going to express it in terms of their identity and personality is going to be different. And they're going to, all have a different role to play based in the need of the time. They're given they develop the, proper personality configuration based in what's needed from them at any particular time in the evolution of the organization and what's going on in the world. And that's, how it should be, right? Where there's a flow to it. There's a flow to leadership, and the appropriate person, the person that is, destined, but also works hard and has, proclivity to doing this job and has a commitment to, duty and sacrifice and rising to the challenge. In the first two masters of the heartfulness system came from the same caste in northern India, warrior caste, and I can't really pronounce it. I have trouble remembering all the various castes. But Master Charji was from the Brahmin caste, and he was from southern India, and there's a lot of gurus and spiritual masters that come from that area and region. And so the first two masters were part of a warrior caste, Master Lalaji and Master Babaji. And they usually don't produce a lot of spiritual gurus from that area. And so when Master Charji was, the people in Chennai in southern India expected a successor who was going to be from the Brahmin caste. And Master Charji originally appointed somebody else that really didn't work out. It was, it was part of a whatever, maybe drawing people out. And that person was, harassed and threatened to some degree. And people of the Brahmin caste in southern India didn't want somebody else, right? And so you even have that kind of thinking, that kind of, people aren't able to evolve because the heartfulness system clearly isn't about that. In fact, Master Charji talked quite a bit about people shedding their caste names and losing their caste names, and he would arrange marriages based in, the appropriateness of the soul. And people from other countries sometimes, people outside of, that had different castes in India. And so that was something that was, stressed. But even with that, with it being said over and over again, people still clung to that. And Daji Kamlesh Patel has he comes from the Gujarati part of India. And I'm not sure, again, what his caste is, but it isn't like the caste of the other four masters. He comes from, I believe, a business caste. His name is Patel, and Patel, is a very common name for people who are wealthy. There's a lot of wealthy Patels and so, there's this idea that a spiritual master, a spiritual evolved being can come from any caste and eventually from any country. And so you're going to have the soul, the quality of soul, what's important, not what genetic line you're born into, not what race or whatever, the periphery of one's existence, because people have these ways of creating some sort of hierarchical thinking and saying, all right, this is the people that are on the upper end, and if you're born into this genetic line, you're somehow superior, and that is just, it is outdated thinking. Like, it has to disappear. And so the royal family, they have to go. Like, it's not something that can exist anymore. This idea that people are born into royalty and somehow are born to rule based in succession, based in these successive generations, is a bad concept. It doesn't work. It's played out. It doesn't work. And now you have all this sort of inbreeding and things because there's a limited genetic pool of these people that are so-called rulers and leaders. And it's just goofy, right? All their stupid goofiness, all these uniforms they use and rituals that they do. It's just outdated. And their very essence it's beyond racism because it's, like this genetic superiority of a certain group of people. It's not like a whole, all white people, all English people. It's this specific group of so-called leaders, so it's beyond that, right? And they're not. I mean, so many of them are just horrible people with, limited potential. And there's been a lot of bad leaders, a lot of bad kings, because they weren't equipped to do the job. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.